Today, I'm honored to be speaking to you, my Appleby community, those that have influenced my identity in ways that go beyond the classroom, my peers that have walked next to me on days of happiness and days of hardship, and others I'm still getting to know. Good morning. My name is Basant Dhillon, and it is a pleasure to be delivering my chapel speech on the theme of empowering personal growth, claiming your true self by understanding the strength in being vulnerable. Intertwined in every Appleby student's journey is growth of some sort, personal, academic, or even physical. For me, I've seen all three, but it's how I have grown and what caused the growth that most influences me as I forged my path forward. I have learned that growth is built fundamentally on sharing moments of vulnerability, trusting those around me to safeguard my truth and guide me forward. Growth very seldom comes in isolation. Vulnerability, in fact, reflects strength of character, as it's only through the willingness to peel back to the complete barren truth that growth is achieved. I'm going to circle back to this idea of peeling layers in a few minutes, but for now, I want you to think of one word that fosters growth. For me, that one word is help. Help. The very mention of that word does not suggest strength. In fact, we've been tuned as a society to associate that word with weakness. But asking for help is indeed empowering. It is placing trust in your family, a friend, a teacher, or even a stranger. I can't think of any other word that invokes as much emotion or connection between two human beings than the word help. What it shows is your strength in knowing you need it. Help, that is. What it shows is your ability to share your truth, express your authentic self, and be able to envelop another in your journey. At its very core, help exposes your vulnerability, and in that, it also shows your willingness to grow. My Senior 1 leaders in middle school spoke on this very topic, but in an indirect way. They spoke about self-advocacy and how to navigate the enormous network of resources at the school. What, at the time, seemed to me a puzzle. At first, they casually told us to ask for help, but I clearly remember them circling back and stressing the safety in asking for help at Appleby. I really didn't appreciate the depth of that one word in the moment, but that message came to me at an opportune time in my life. I was a middle schooler. I felt myself beginning to close up inside, more aware of what others thought of me, and my problems weren't things I necessarily wanted to share. I'm thankful for the so many people in my Appleby journey that I have leaned on for help and advice. These supports are all around us, including here at Appleby through peer counselors and advisors, but also in your community. These are the places and the people in your life that bring you a feeling of safety and trust. So reach out during the times when you feel you might not be quite yourself, overwhelmed or confused. It is a strength of character to ask for help. I often wonder where that line is drawn. When the innocence of a child asking why or asking for help is cute and celebrated, but when that child grows to be around 12 or 13, those very same questions become embarrassing, perhaps even seen as a sign of weakness. I volunteered at Appleby camps one summer and watched how young children interacted with their environment. It was a wonderful insight on how to empower growth. You just ask your friends, your teachers, your parents for help. Wow, it looked so simple. I had forgotten that feeling of self-discovery and utter, blatant trust of ease acceptance. There were no committees on diversity and inclusion on that playing field. It just naturally happened. Maturity, a form of growth, is supposed to come with age. Is it mature not to ask for help? Do we ever learn to openly ask for help ever again? To trust in others? Or is it lost in our childhood years? I dare say that we do regain the word help into our vocabulary, and it's our community that reteaches us that word. But I have also learned that it's a word harder for some than it may be for others. I'm speaking to you today as a woman, a person of color, and a child of an immigrant parent. These factors sound very descriptive, perhaps even physical qualities you see when you look at me. And here is where I circle back to the layers. Every one of us has layers. For me, it is literally the color of my skin that is a layer. It forms a barrier to the outside world. To remove my armor is to be vulnerable. I couple that with being a woman, another barrier, a child of immigrants, yet another layer. These barriers, for some reason, became ever so apparent to me in my early teens when I was in middle school, and why that talk in home forum about asking for help was very relevant. Asking for support, being vulnerable, is hard for me even now, but it was especially difficult in middle school. To find the authentic Basant deep inside, to ask for help in things I needed to figure out, or to admit a wrong was difficult when I was balancing that with just managing life as a teenager. In fact, I didn't even know I had layers before then. Moreover, my layers began to thicken, because as you begin to gain an identity, it is harder and harder to change or to ask for help, and that certainly is not growth. I began to behave in ways that just weren't me. It was subtle, smiling when I was miserable, or agreeing with opinions different than my own just to be part of a group. This must be hard for you to believe that know me very well. I'm a very confident person who speaks her mind, but that's just a testament to my growth, I suppose. It's important to look for those moments when you feel unauthentic, not true to who you are or who you want to be, and take this as an opportunity for reflection, to be vulnerable, and to seek support from your trusted network. This home forum topic was a catalyst to have discussions with my parents and my older brothers on what it means to live in this skin. It means having to try twice as hard to get to the finish line. It means having all the skills and all the awards, yet not being on equal ground. And maybe hardest of all, not being able to speak about the differential with honesty. I mean, it's a secret we all know, yet we're not allowed to talk about. I peeled a layer that day and was shown the value in having open and honest communication. After all, if I don't share my inner thoughts, my journey, and the biases I face, how can I precipitate change? I'm talking about it with all of you today and hope it affects change in all the communities I call home, including Appleby. I also spoke about what it means to be a woman in today's world with my mom, an electrical engineer. Having discussions with her on gender biases, marginalization in the workplace, and just being safe in how you dress, where you go, what you do. These were value-added lessons that fed my growth as I continue to ask for help and to understand my position in the world. It is liberating when you begin peeling layers, but it's also frightening at the same time because the truth is not always fair. I'm thankful for my wonderful parents who support me in all that I do. They wear the same skin as I, maybe even endured a harder journey. And my brothers, Himmet, for being my mentor and my fiercest supporter, and Jode, or Dr. Kelly's nickname for him, Chillin' Like a Dhillon, for his wit and charm. And my twin sister Nimrit, she also has to try twice as hard. And so, here I stand, a few months away from graduation. Each day is sweet. I see my friends in passing, at lunch, or on Zoom calls, and think of their journeys and their layers. I reflect on my actions and wonder if I did for them what they did for me. I hope I did. Passing through classrooms where I leaned on teachers at times I needed support and guidance gives me pause. Opportunities for growth will present themselves moving forward in our everyday lives, both in giving and receiving help. It's a decision to make, to peel back the layers, allow your vulnerable self to receive. So I say to you, make connections with people around you that go beyond the pleasantries. Build bonds based on mutual trust. Know that these are safe places and safe people, and they are here to help you, and it's okay to ask. And when you're approached by someone to help guide them, view it as a privilege to be included in their journey. Unconditionally listen, hold space to hear their truth, encourage their growth, allow them to be vulnerable, and respect their strength in asking. And now I think what the future holds as I set forth for the next part of my journey. This community, along with many others, reintroduced the word help into my vocabulary and allowed me to be vulnerable, something I still find hard to this day, but is part of my journey. March 3rd, spring is around the corner, a time of growth, a time of renewal, when the soil cracks open to make way for seeds who are sheltered, nurtured, fed, and loved to sprout and enter the world. A bloom opening, layer by layer, coming to full blossom, proudly showing the world its true inner self. Quite symbolic of my own journey. Basant in Punjabi means spring. This message, specific to my fellow S2s, but really for us all, it's a happy time, a time of choice, independence, excitement, a time to bloom. It continues to be difficult to ask for help, expose our vulnerabilities as we have thickened our layers, but that choice is made so much easier when we understand the human connection. We are linked to each other through emotion, feeling with someone, whether it's through empathy or by giving and receiving help, and this is the vehicle to authenticity. I'm thankful for the privilege I have of my education and my Appleby community and practicing the tenet of Seva in my Sikh faith. I have found my social responsibility to carry forward the work necessary to allow all populations equal opportunity for growth. In closing, I would like to acknowledge the privilege we have today to be standing on the ancestral land of the Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabeg people, and the current land of the Mississauga of the Credit First Nations. Layers of history, intergenerational trauma, violence, oppression, colonization, and marginalization has affected the original peoples of our land. These dark parts of our nation's history is truth, and we must acknowledge the layers before growth can occur. And now I ask you to please take a moment of reflection to understand what reconciliation might mean to you. As Canadians, it's our collective social responsibility. Please rise for the singing of the hymn, Lion and Lamb.